Are you the quantum mechanics?
Yes, we're the Quantum Mechanics, the paranormal podcast for the believers, the doubters, and everyone in between. And thank you very much. We've got a couple of new Patreons. Thanks to Alan for joining us. And our good old friend Trudy has joined us as well. We really appreciate all the support from everyone. So you probably know it by now. We post the episodes early, ad-free. We've got our exclusive Ben and Peter's Extra Scoop episode that goes out as well, which is only available on Patreon. Lots of great chat, little bits of news. So, yeah, if you fancy it, come and join us at patreon.com/TQM pod.
It's like listening to QVC sometimes.
I know. It's like, I feel like I had a friend of mine who did a interview for QVC to be a presenter, and their interview was they gave them a pen and said, "Oh, can you just talk about that for 20 minutes?" That was their interview.
Did they get the gig?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very handy. You can put it in your pocket. You know, just all this stuff that you just go, "Really? It's a
I think
pen."
I'd find myself going, look, it does all the letters of the alphabet. Look, A.
yeah.
Even a B.
Even a B, yeah.
And there's numbers.
If you want. Or you could even just go freehand. There's a freehand option where you can draw.
I'm going to do a dog. Follow me. That's the only thing I can really draw.
But would it work underwater?
Oh, no. I always wanted one of those underwater pens.
Yeah.
Do you remember those little catalogues you used to get in the back of the Sunday Times?
Yeah.
And the things that I bought from there, I persuaded my dad to buy. Do you remember the little 110 cameras, point and click, that they fold out, the sort that little kids used to have?
Right, I know, I don't remember.
And they have funny film. It's like a film with like two barrel ends and a piece between them. This was a thing to put your film in your camera, but if you didn't have any film, it could store pound coins. It was completely, utterly useless. I know that I honestly, I kept coveting it, and eventually my dad was like, "Fine, you could have it." And then when I got it, I was like, "Well, I don't need to put coins in it.
Why would I put my coins in
and
it?
I've already got somewhere to put my film." It was rubbish. Anyway, I enjoyed those little magazines.
Excellent.
We had some dark stories with your vampirism.
We've had a couple of drones, haven't we? We've had a couple of vampires, and obviously we've had the haunted bakery in between. But
yes.
You said you were going to cheer us up this week.
Yeah, I am.
Are you going to cheer us up?
I'm going back to the seaside.
Oh, lovely.
Because I don't really like swimming in the sea. I find the notion of going in over so much water a bit terrifying. Things that come out of the deep, really.
Right.
I'm okay paddling around the side as long as I know there's no jellyfish. I'm also absolutely terrified of jellyfish.
Although most shark attacks happen in shallow water, is that true?
I'm not sure if that is true.
I wonder if it's just because there's more people in shallow water.
There are some noises that come from the deep.
Right.
Some of them are more explainable than others. But the big daddy of them all is the bloop. I think we've all probably come across the bloop. If you haven't, this is what it sounds like. So that was recorded by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 1997 in the South Pacific Ocean. As I'm sure you all probably know, that is speeded up 16 times to turn it into
a bloop.
A sound that, otherwise the frequencies are too low.
Right, for us to hear.
You can't really comprehend it. And that was used as a source of criticism that it was, people were obfuscating what the thing really was.
So what they captured, I guess they'd had a visual representation of it. Is it a bit wow?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, that looks a bit weird.
Yeah, that was weird. And it was unexplainable for years. I found there's a legacy article at Skeptoid, skeptoid.com, which is one of my favourite sites investigating anomalous things in the paranormal. And they talk a lot about how the frequency pattern doesn't really match things like living organisms, natural events, methane bubbles, anything that we might know of. But unfortunately, this sound has been explained.
It's been identified now.
Yeah, I thought I was going to do a show about how all the different theories about the bloop, but it seems like...
What were the theories at the time? Was it?
So,
I'm sure we had alien.
We did have alien. We had alien ships and actual aliens.
Yeah.
Unidentified sea creature, of course.
Yeah.
Unidentified
Mythical
sea creature.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to that because people are using that to explain another one. And also, like something that happened in the Earth. So perhaps a geological event that nobody had seen before. Right. But actually, what it turned out to be was ice quakes that were generated by large icebergs as they crack and fracture. So the NOAA hydrophones deployed in the Scotia Sea have detected numerous ice quakes, and their spectrograms are either identical or very, very similar to the bloop. So that is what you're listening to there. Although it does sound really odd, it is apparently just an ice quake, which is incredibly disappointing.
So ice quake being what, when it cracks or something?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so before you get, the way I understand it, before you get an iceberg break off, you'll have an ice quake where it splits.
Right.
And that noise is part of that splitting noise. But
that's disappointing.
I know. But there are other noises, and I am in this show going to attempt to play you at least one that is unexplained at the moment. Ooh. And also, I've got one that is explainable, but you will never sleep again. Honestly, it was probably one of the most disturbing noises I've ever heard. Okay. I'll leave you waiting for that. Now, this one is another... This is relatively famous. If you search for this, you'll be able to find it. This is called the upsweep. Have a little listen to this.
Very spooky.
Doesn't it remind you of a number station?
Yes, that's what I was thinking that while I was listening to it. Is that speeded up as well, or is that how it was?
No, that is how it was.
Although there is something animalistic about it to me.
Yeah, there absolutely is. Unlike the bloop, which is very occasional, and that obviously goes in with the cause of it, the upsweep continues to happen, and in some respects it is seasonal. As of now, there is still no officially accepted explanation of the upsweep. There are lots of theories, and those include undiscovered species of marine life and the possibilities of the sounds being made by deep-sea volcanic activity. The volcanic activity is actually the favoured solution to that, yes. But nobody knows exactly what it is, what is causing it.
Let's have another listen to that. Yeah, I wouldn't have gone... I definitely feel if creature was going through my mind, but then I guess your mind, who knows? But...
Well, yeah, this is...
So volcanic rather than... So we've had ice quakes. This is almost like volcanic activity. Is that the leading theory at the moment?
That is the leading theory. The problem with the deep-sea creatures thought is that something huge enough to make a sound that is loud enough in the deep ocean, and this sound is detected all the way through the Pacific Ocean, is that there really aren't enough nutrients to sustain a colony of something that big.
Right.
There's people that talk about, not necessarily in relation to the upsweep, but in general, the megalodon, claiming that there's enough deep-sea unexplored ocean that a population of bus-sized sharks could exist unnoticed. And the problem, again, with that is, although we do keep dredging up oddities, the megamouth shark, which is an animal the size of the megalodon, that has been discovered. But they have got an identifiable source of food. From what I've read, scientists don't think there's enough to feed a population of megalodons that would be that big. Not that, again, I'm not saying that megalodons are making this noise, but something that could be huge enough to make this noise. Now, of course, the other thing that makes a lot of noise is shrimps, tiny shrimps.
Right.
You probably know that submarines have to break through the shrimp layer in some parts of the world because it can interfere with sonars and they can't hear anything because of these noisy shrimps. And they are making like popping noises by expelling bodies of water faster than the speed of sound, which causes the water to literally explode. Not literally explode, but gain in size, and therefore it causes this popping noise.
I had that. I remember the first time I ever went snorkeling on a reef. I remember going and kind of looking around and going, something wrong with my ears. There's something wrong with my ears. It was almost like this popping, kind of almost crisp packet sound, and it's just it was just the fish eating the coral. But yeah, amazing.
Somebody was telling me the other day they were working on a wildlife documentary, and something that will bring a shark towards the camera is crunching a plastic bottle.
Oh, really?
Because to a shark that sounds like a fish in distress.
Right, okay.
But apparently the health and safety people on the shoot wouldn't let them do it because the shark will just come straight up and try and eat the thing.
Where it is.
Yeah, so it'll take your hand off. But, this particular noise, it could be any one of those things.
I'm assuming that on some level, some marine biologists have said, it does sound like something, an organic creature that's producing it.
Yeah.
It may have been disproved, but it was enough to make people think that, at least.
Yes, it was. It
wasn't just me and you listening to it and going, oh, yeah, that'll be a megalodon. No. Somebody put forward a theory that it might be a Cuvier's beaked whale, because we've seen those at depths of 3,000 metres, apparently, right.
which is... That's incredible, isn't it? 3 kilometres down.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But we know what they are and where they are because, of course, being whales, they surface and they're quite well studied. And there was some suggestion that perhaps these whales make this noise for a reason that we don't know and only at depth. But we've never found this noise emanating from a pod of Culver's beaked whales. Right. So we don't think it is Culver's beaked whales. I think the reason why people suggest that it is volcanic, remember I said it was seasonal. It might not be seasonal in that it is affected by the seasons. It might be there are times when volcanic activity is higher due to various other reasons like tectonic plate drift and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that would mean that you would have a sort of sine wave of regularity on this thing. So you'd be able to predict, because you can predict, the Earth, it largely has predictable movement underneath. Right. I'm not talking about earthquakes and stuff, but we know what movement sounds like and looks like, and that is likely to go along with what this sound could be coming from.
But you said it was picked up in the Pacific?
Yes.
You would I know that there's a lot of kind of volcanic activity there, but you think to find out, you should be able to pick it up in other places of the world, wouldn't you? Or go to places that have got a lot of volcanic activity.
Yeah. But it might be a sort of, again, now I'm going out of my knowledge area, but it might be a sort of volcanic activity that's only seen in that particular area.
Right, yeah.
There are a lot of underwater volcanoes in that area.
Yeah.
And it might be that there's, all you need is a particular sort of rock sediment, and the way that the volcano blows through that causes this particular pattern. But I do love the spookiness of that.
Yeah.
So another noise that has been recorded is known as the train.
Right, let's have a listen to that. That's like the start of an ambient album from
It is,
1985, isn't it?
It is. Again, it really has a haunting...
It kind of changes pitch, which is weird. I get the train thing because it's reminding me more of like a tube train. You know, that sound you get in a tunnel. Wow, okay.
Yeah, it is like riding the Central Line.
But it's that pitch change that's really interesting. You're going to tell me it's a... I don't know what you're going to tell me. It's a pufferfish just letting
It's a
out
happy
breath.
pufferfish.
Yeah.
Now, this sound was recorded March the 4th, 1997, on the Eastern Equatorial Pacific Autonomous Hydrophone Array. That's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
And the sound is quasi-steady. I'm going to use that a lot. I'm obviously quoting from...
That also sounds like an ambient track.
Quasi-steady,
yeah. Quasi, yes, lovely.
Between 32 and 35 hertz. And that means pretty much only one thing. It was most likely generated by a very large iceberg. And they believe that the iceberg was grounded in the Ross Sea near Cape Adair. And it's generated by the iceberg slowly moving and dragging its keel across the seafloor.
Wow. And I guess wherever it drags, that's why it's changing pitch.
That's right, yeah.
What a great sound, though.
But it's kind of one scientist I read, he said these giant icebergs, your similarity to an early ambient album isn't too far away, because he said it's like a needle on a record because it's playing the ocean bed and amplifying it because, of course, it's just vibrations.
Oh, you see, if you had a ton of money in the time, you could actually create little grooves that would make a song, couldn't you, for it to drag across? That'd be amazing.
Maybe that's what Putin's doing with his submarines.
Yeah, that's what it's all going on.
Yeah, it's just a huge stunt by Pink Floyd.
It's reminding me a bit of that sound. There's some of that kind of ambient-y, spooky sound in movies like Alien and Aliens. It's reminding me of that. It's got that kind of tone to it.
Yeah, it does. It has
like outer space vibe to it.
It makes us feel things are ominous.
Yeah.
I think
that's amazing, though. I'd love that. It'd be great to see that, wouldn't it, in action? So was that real time as well, or is that speeded up?
That one is real time.
Wow,
that one is real time.
That's amazing.
Now the next one, this is the most controversial one because this sounds the most organic of all of them, and it's called Julia. This one is recorded March the 1st, 1999, again on the Equatorial Pacific Autonomous Hydrophone Array. I'm going to get used to saying that. Have a listen to Julia.
Wow, that's spooky as well, isn't it?
It's pretty odd, isn't it?
Or although I did have that vision in, don't know if it's Finding Nemo or the Finding Dory, the one where she tries to communicate with the whales and kind of goes,
Yes.
Wow, okay. So again, I'm going to ask the same question. That's normal speed.
That's normal speed.
And it was captured where?
That was on the Eastern Equatorial Pacific Autonomous Array.
It's all going on in the Pacific.
It is.
It?
I think
there's a big ocean, I guess.
It's probably
all
related
from
to
the
where
same stuff,
the
where the
listening
mics
is
are.
Yeah. The sound is most likely. I'm going slowly because I don't want to reveal it, but it's most likely another iceberg that's run aground off Antarctica. Yeah.
Wow.
But
I was going animal. I guess I had that whale thing in my mind.
But it is only most likely because nobody knows what that is. But it seems like pretty much if you don't know what it is, it's probably going to be an iceberg. That's what people think. The real issue with identifying whether it's an iceberg or not is because you have to compare it to other similar patterns.
Yeah.
So with the bloop, that was easy because it wasn't easy, but once they had recorded an ice quake, that is the pattern of an ice quake. But because icebergs come in different shapes and sizes and in different geographical locations, they don't all sound the same.
Yes.
So that one doesn't sound at all like the train.
So that's not scraping against the seabed.
Well, that's what they think it is. They think it's run aground.
Because that's the other factor, isn't it? Like we said, like the grooves on a record. The seabed's got different grooves depending on where it is.
That's right. And
shifting all the time. Yes.
But it does sound so brilliantly like a sea monster. And we'd all want it to be a sea monster, wouldn't we? Really.
I've got this vision now that there's some hi-fi enthusiast trying to develop the most expensive setup for playing records that has an iceberg tip stylus that is heated to -3 or something. That I can see that happening.
Oh, that would be good. Only Elon Musk could afford it.
Yeah, it'd be like hundreds of thousands of pounds, and you'd have to have a huge unit keeping your stylus freezing temperature and not ruining your records. Wow.
I was really disappointed, by the way, when up until last week, my dad, who's into records as much as you are, and when I was growing up, obviously you should never touch a stylus, obviously, and my dad has a couple of diamond-tipped styluses, and he was like, you never touch those, and I was not obsessed, but I couldn't stop staring, thinking, wow. Because obviously when you're a kid, diamonds are literally the most expensive thing you could ever possibly imagine. It's like, wow, you get a diamond and put it on there. And I was talking to him the other day and he said, I've got another stylus coming. And I said, was that diamond tipped one? He was like, yeah, pretty much all of them are diamond tipped. And I said, where do they get these diamonds from? And there was this silence. It was like, well, they make them. I had no idea you can make diamonds in a lab. I must be the last person on earth to realise that.
I think for rings and stuff, they're cheaper, aren't they? Because they're less flawed. It's a weird way round, isn't it? Whereas if you get a natural one that's not flawed, it has more value. It's a weird thing. But I had one with a record incident with my daughter a few months ago. She's got a couple of albums. She's got a small record player, but she never uses it. But she just wanted it for the artwork and that feeling of having it. And then one day she said to me, can I play it on your stereo? I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, bring your albums down. We started playing it and it sounded appalling. And I just lifted it off. And I said, what have you done to this? She went, I did blue tack them to my wall. Oh. She didn't quite get the concept that basically the grooves of her record were just full of bits of blue tack and were ruining my stylus at the same
time. No, I can imagine the colour of my dad's face if that had happened.
Yeah, just blue tack.
Just blue tack on my stylus.
So icebergs seem to be...
they are.
Well, there seem to be a culprit for a lot of these noises, but also there are a wealth of amazing sound.
They are. So, obviously, this is a show which is largely about the paranormal. So let's have a look at the more paranormal side of this.
Okay.
And the first thing I thought of, we've done mermaids before.
Yeah.
But there's a lot happening in the world of mermaid at the moment.
It's really hot at the moment, isn't
Mermaids are hot at the minute.
Okay.
And I found this story on Reddit while I was looking around. So there's quite a lot of threads where people talk about underwater noises they've picked up. So the ones that you've all listened to, they are quite famous. I'm not making any bones about the fact I haven't gone and discovered something incredibly secret. They are discussed quite widely, but I think they're interesting. But there are some people that record their own and share them. And then there's a whole community. They're not debunking. It's largely not a paranormal community. It's people sort of saying, I think that's actually this ship. And there are some ships that can be identified just by the frequency of their motors. Yeah. Right. So I found somebody that uses a hydrophone to track a particular cruise ship. Just fun stuff like that.
Right.
So when I was in this community, I sort of went round a rabbit hole and I found some real-life mermaid accounts, and we'll have some mermaid noise in a minute. But this story really struck me as being something... how when we talk about who's got something to gain in a ghost sighting and lying about it, this one had the same feel. This is from New Zealand. He says, before my parents split up, we used to live in a mini mansion near a man-made lake. It had a massive garden and was surrounded by land and some water and lots of wild ducks. When my brother was still a toddler, before I was born, he fell into one of these lakes and nearly drowned. If it weren't for my uncle who saw him, he would have died. When he got pulled out of the water, he was talking about some naked fish lady that was there staring at him. This feels like the mermaid in the lake in Harry Potter.
It does, yeah, I was thinking that.
Everyone was shocked about what had happened and didn't bat an eyelid about this fish lady and just made sure he was okay. A few years later, when I was like about 3 and my sister was about 11, she would occasionally complain to my parents about this lady who would visit her sometimes at night. She was always wet, naked, and something to do with being aquatic. Remember, he's 3, so he might not be picking up the full story.
Right.
She also mentioned that sometimes the husband showed up, but he was not very nice, and she didn't really like him. She's 11. When this woman wasn't visiting, she would be somewhere singing. Every single night, my sister would talk about hearing singing, and the neighbours' kids would also mention it. The parents thought that the kids were just trying to scare them, so they didn't really care. But this is the part that really freaks me out. That's the author saying that. Fast forward a year to I'm about 12. We get in contact with the people who now own that house as we moved out, and we never had mentioned this mermaid lady to them. As we were leaving and saying other goodbyes, they start talking about this lady who sings and visits them at night time, who's always wet and is like a fish. We've never been able to figure this out, as there is no way that they could have known about we used to see things. And this was about 10 or 15 years ago. So...
I've got questions, though.
Yes, I thought you might. I mean... this is a guy on Reddit, so...
Yeah, no, I'm with it. So, but no description of how they actually... Because I'm assuming they come up to the house.
Yeah, well, I think what he's saying is that it comes to the lake, because there's the lakey pond thing in there,
right,
on their property.
Do they do it like ray gun in the Olympics? They just kind of do that that wiggle up the driveway into the house.
Oh, like a breakdancing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, maybe. But in some mythology, mermaids can lose their fishtail and walk.
Yeah. Certainly in the Disney world.
But the husband thing as well.
Yeah, that's weird, yeah.
Now, the thing about this is the reason I wanted to tell you that story, because there are many mermaid stories, and I'll tell you one of the ones that has become most famous in a minute. But because this episode is about sounds, I wanted to play you this from a New Bedford fisherman, because he has been... Now, I will just caveat this with, I don't know if this is fake. He claims that it is not fake. I have not been able to find anything to say it is fake. There's a lot of people speculating that it's fake, and there's a lot of people speculating that he doesn't understand the noises of a ship. So I'm not saying that I do or not. I am presenting as I find. But he claims to hear strange singing and shouting and human-like noises coming out of the sea at night as he's working, and he's become quite famous on TikTok for sharing these. Okay. Have a little listen to this clip.
Before we play it, I've got a vision in my mind of kind of like sounding like Sigur Rós or Björk or Lisa Gerrard from Dead Can Dance. That's what I've got in my mind. I hope it's not going to disappoint.
Keep Björk in mind. I got a clip for you next after this one, where you're going to think the Sugar Cubes 100%. Okay. But, yeah, let's listen to this siren.
I heard it. I hear it. Oh, my God. That's crazy. That's nuts.
Was not quite as as relaxing as I was expecting. And I was sitting there going,
Would it lure you to your death?
No, but it's like, just turn the engines off as well, if you could.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
It's quite noisy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
interesting, though.
But what struck me about that is that the sound sounds quite far away. It sounds...
Yeah.
When I say far away, it sounds like it's off the boat.
Yeah.
Now,
and there was a bit more Bjork stubbing her toe.
Yeah, yes, yeah, that's right. But it's really weird, isn't it? And
it's weird. And I don't know. I'm assuming... Well, I don't know if it's not been done. It'd be great to have somebody analyse that, like those debunkers who go, I can see that the audio was added afterwards or whatever. I'm not saying he did make it up. I'm just saying that kind of scrutiny would be nice.
Well,
I guess you could play it from a speaker or whatever, yeah.
Well, the thing about it is the thing that a lot of people who dispute the fact that it's a siren say that they think it might be a whale or an orca. Yeah. There's a lot of assumption that a whale or an orca can only be heard underwater. And that isn't necessarily true.
Right.
And they also imitate like birds. So obviously we all know that birds learn to speak. And we've probably all heard the stories about birds that wake neighbourhoods up because they imitate car alarms and things like that. Well, orcas do the same, and they can do it with human speech.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
This is the one you're not going to be able to sleep after.
Okay.
And this is the most Bjork-like.
Okay.
Check this out.
I'm looking forward to this.
What you're going to hear is a human voice and then the orca imitating that voice. So you'll hear a human speak a word and then you will hear the orca attempt to say the same word.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hello? 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
That's absolutely incredible.
Isn't that wild?
That's incredible. I know what you mean, though. Some of them were a bit, that's a bit
That
demonic.
one, which is like, yes. Now, if you invited that orca to take around, I'd be literally legging it out the back door.
Wow, that's incredible. I've never seen that before.
No, I hadn't.
Or heard it, I should say.
So the best explanation we have for the siren guy is ships make those sort of metal on metal noises.
Yeah.
And he claims that there's something swimming fast in the water.
Yeah.
What the best explanation is that it is an orca mimicking the sound of the boat back to him and swimming alongside the boat.
Right.
That's what it sounds like. And when there's a part of that video which I didn't include because it's got swears on it and we don't do that on this show, but he shouts out and it sort of says something back to him, sort of, but it is no more or less distinct than what we've just heard from those orcas.
Well, the hello one. Let's just have a quick listen to that again because that's amazing. Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
That's amazing. Really amazing.
Isn't
I can see why. Yeah, why it might kind of mimic the boat thing. Well, it's weird actually of me saying just turn the boat off so we can hear it more. Maybe it would have stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why he doesn't turn the boat off is he's obviously not the captain. He's some sort of like, a deckhand or a fisherman, and he probably doesn't have the authority. And turning a boat off, you're probably losing money. I don't know. So I don't blame him on that. He might just be laughing around. He might know exactly what those noises are, and he's just messing with the TikTok audience because it's certainly caught fire. But
it would also explain it would really explain the legend of the mermaid, wouldn't it? Because
yes, it
you
would.
could see, I don't know. Maybe I've got a romantic view of life on the ocean waves back in the day, but you can imagine people kind of singing and shouting, and if orcas or whatever the type of
Porpoise.
Porpoise, that's it. Yeah, other porpoises.
Did you forget on porpoise?
I did forget on porpoise. You can see if you're in the doldrums, somewhere in a sailboat, and you're making those kind of noises, and you hear something back, it would freak you out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
Do we know? I'm assuming. Is there any detail of what we've just heard there? Are they with orcas in captivity? Or are they?
Yeah,
wild?
they are. Yeah, it's
okay.
a scientific study on whale and orca language.
Yeah. So they've tried to train them to do that.
Yeah,
so, okay.
But apparently it isn't that hard. They do
Okay.
enjoy mimicking, and there are other studies that show that whales have very sophisticated language.
Right.
And to them, I suppose it's like learning French.
Yeah.
They for all they know, they just I'll try and speak human. But
I want them to say aha.
and we didn't cover this when we did the mermaid episode. What stood out to me was an article, first ever photos of a mermaid.
All right.
And it reads, for more than 50 years, people have reported seeing a mermaid off the coast of Hawaii's Big Island, but the sightings were never taken seriously until a dive boat captain finally captured the half-woman, half-fish on film. Dive master Jeff Leica, 43, photographed the creature known as the Kaiwai Point Mermaid on April the 12th, 1998, as he and 6 other divers were exploring the ocean bottom about 20 minutes off Hawaii's sunny Kona coast. I'd heard about her before, says Leica, who operates Jack's Diving Locker. Most of us who are out of these waters generally have heard stories, but I'd never seen her until that morning. We were on our way out to the point when a school of dolphins started following the boat, playing in our wake. Suddenly, one of the men on the port side starts yelling and pointing. I couldn't believe what I saw. There, not 10 feet from the bow, was what looked like a nude woman. But there is no way a human could be swimming so fast. She was keeping right up with the dolphins. Then she leapt into the air, and my heart almost gave out on me. The entire lower half of her was covered with scales and tapered back into a huge fishtail. She jumped once more, then disappeared under the surface. All 10 people on the boat witnessed the bizarre incident, but there was another incredible surprise still ahead. About an hour later, we arrived at the point where we were diving. I was photographing some colourful fish with my underwater camera, and suddenly I felt a brush past my right leg. She shot by me like a streak of lightning, then turned and came back past me, swimming the other way. I just aimed the camera and started snapping pictures. I kept shooting as she broke the surface and swam away. You're going to have a smile now. Weekly World News had Leica's pictures analysed by 3 noted photography labs. All say the photos are genuine and have not been tampered with. And there's a picture of the said mermaid that we can share. We'll put it on our Patreons. I'll turn my screen to you.
Oh, I've seen this.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
You've seen that image there?
Yeah.
So that is what he says is him underneath the mermaid as
Right.
it breaks the surface and swims away.
I've got, if we go back to motive.
Yes.
He has
There's
got
a lot
quite
of
a good
motive with
motive.
that, isn't
I
there?
bet. Can you imagine? He must have told that story 100 times. Every time he takes a group of tourists out on the boat, that comes out. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I just had this vision of them heading off in the boat after that encounter, and him shouting back, "Cheers, Amanda!"
Yeah, exactly. I think that is probably what happens, sadly.
Yes.
But I do like that account.
It's funny though, isn't it? It's back to that nature of photographs that we talk about quite a lot. It's almost too good.
It is almost, and this is the problem. Like, if he really had seen a mermaid, we're all going to dismiss it out of hand. I think the big problem with this is that the journalist who wrote that piece didn't have any of those 10 people coming to qualify the thing. And what you really want is XX, who is a policeman, YY, who is a farmer.
But even so, if and I'm not saying they did this, but you could see a scenario where someone might do it and have somebody who's part of their dive school or, whatever. Hey, like I said, Amanda, can you just put on the outfit? It's got fins on the back, so you can move pretty well. Just go and swim around for a bit. You know what I mean? And I'll take a photo of you from underneath. Just the fact that the photo's not been photoshopped or mixed around with doesn't mean, I'm sure he did photograph that. The question is whether the thing that we're looking at is really a mermaid or somebody who's a great swimmer in a costume.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I think part of the problem is that of all of the cryptids, mermaids are probably, to pardon the pun, one of the most alluring because it's so steeped in our culture and in, fiction that these things exist or might exist. And obviously we know that the sirens themselves were pretty nasty and used to eat sailors. Yeah. But the notion that a half-human thing might exist in the sea is really cool. I mean, what I haven't done because I wasn't going down this route this week is the noises and perhaps some of the sightings could be down to USOs. And I think the USOs, we've done them before, deep sea fast walkers as they're also known. This is well away from that kind of territory. Although in the same sort of algorithm serving that you get when you start following the fisherman guy with the siren, you also get fishermen who see these green lights glowing through the water. Okay. And some of those, not many, but some of those are associated with humanoid type shapes swimming around these green lights in the water.
In that scenario, the mermaid or whatever it is the aquatic equivalent of the alien grey.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes.
Yeah. Which as a narrative works.
Yeah, it does. It does. And there are some sightings of those, but again, I think, quite different from this. But I think the whole point about this was the eeriness and the weirdness of, like I said, we said it at the top, they sound a bit like number stations. They repeat. If you put your head under the water and you heard something like that, so you were saying you heard the fish eating the coral. Yeah. If you heard something like that, I mean, I would definitely be out of the water and wouldn't take a bath for a month.
Well, like I said, for the first couple of minutes, I'm like, what's wrong with my ears? You think, I've got something in my ear, and then I just I saw that the fish were eating. It was like, oh, okay, that's noise is that? Wow, okay.
I used to have, how old was I? I was an early teenager, like 13, 14. And I had a really impressive fish tank set up in my bedroom. Nice. That was kind of a main hobby. And I had a couple of triggerfish. And those are the fish that...
Wow, I love triggerfishes.
Yeah. So if you don't know, they spit out of the water to knock insects off leaves, to eat them. And these triggerfish at night... You'd hear them spitting water. It would bounce off the tank lid, and it was very peculiar. It took me ages to work out what was going on because you'd be lying asleep, and you'd be waking up with this
just spatter.
It's just a weird noise. But they were cool. If you took the lid off and held a piece of greenery over the tank, they'd spit at it. It was very cool. They were very cool fish. Yeah.
Very cool fish.
They're very cool fish. But I think what I would like to do is leave you on high. We've been through some of the paranormal sounds. We've been through some of the whale sounds. We've heard some orcas that sound like humans. Now here is a whale that sounds like a duck.
Ben,
yes.
If it quacks like a duck and it lives in the water, it's obviously a whale.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. I wonder whether that could be your missing meat.
What, whale?
I hope not.
No, I hope not.
No.
It's funny because we did have the meat debate still goes on. We've had a couple of comments about my missing meat. So anyone who doesn't know this, who thinks we've just really gone very tangential, I've got this Mandela effect thing where I think there's a Sunday roast meat missing. I did have some feedback. I think we had bison recommended by somebody, which I quite like. I'd like the idea of that. We've had various fish ones, or let's say aquatic-based animals and fish put forward, but I am certain gravy's involved, so I'm ruling them out.
Like Alan Sugar, the quest continues for your missing meat.
My missing meat. Well, I loved listening to those things. I don't think I'm going to get over those orcas. Hello. They're just incredible.
I've still got goldfish at home. If one of them starts talking to me, I don't know why it's so frightening, but it really is frightening. I'm just going to camp a tent in the back garden. Yeah. They're terrifying. It's much more terrifying than, like, if my dog started to talk. Because I just feel like he should talk, but fish shouldn't. I mean, I know that the orcas aren't fish, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you
know
mean.
what I mean.
I'd forgotten what they were. Porpoises, but
yes, they're air breathers.
Yes. Well, I tell you, that was fantastic, and I loved listening to those things. I'm now going to be totally obsessed with two things: the orcas, and I'm going to be obsessed with the idea of an iceberg as a needle playing a record on the ocean bed. It's amazing.
I wonder if it's a bit like, they say, given enough monkeys and enough time, they'll write the works of Shakespeare. Yeah. I wonder if...
Which I think's been proved is not true.
I think it isn't true, no. But I wonder whether we could, have ABBA, Dancing Queen, recreated by complete fluke by icebergs off the Swedish coast.
Yeah. I can see them falling in a pattern of da 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 da. And then as they drift along, da 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 da. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Well, we've probably run to the end of the groove.
We've run to the end of the groove.
Yeah. Cool.
Let's say goodbye, and we'll see you soon. See you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are you the quantum mechanics?
Bye bye.